And once again, I remind all of you, please see to that your mic is not on during the session. Please check your mic is on mute till the end of the session so that there won't be any disturbance when the resource person is addressing us. And after the session is over, post your queries alone in the chat box. So we'll help you with your queries. Please don't post any other message in the chat box. Good evening to all. We welcome you all for the 6 days Executive Development Program jointly organized by Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Center for Capacity Building, and Corpus. Gratitude is twofold: love coming to visit us and love running out to greet and welcome the guest. One such loving and kind person is Dr. Tanuja Thomas. We invite you, ma'am, to welcome the August gathering. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Maladima. Good evening, all. First of all, I pray to God Almighty for the showers of blessing on us and this program. Learning is a process. Ma'am, can you hear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it's clear.
Yeah. Learning is a process. It starts from womb to tomb, or we can say birth to death. So this EDP is a learning platform for us to learn new knowledge, information, wisdom, etc. So we grab it. Firstly, I welcome our CEO Secretary, Dr. P. Krishnakumar, sir, for the leadership and support to conduct this program in all aspects in his absence also. A master decides to teach his and others' knowledge to his fellow beings. It's great mind with good ideology, determinism, and vision. We hope that with your energy, enthusiasm, and focus on education and learning, our institute achieves greater excellence. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to welcome Dr. B. Anirudhan sir, our respected and dear principal, organizing chair, and today's resource person for the technical section 6, hybrid education in the future. Welcome you, sir. If you implement intelligence, boldness, and hard work, you will get proper and fast result. Here I can say you will get Dr. Maithili Jnanapriya, our dear controller of examinations, NAC, here for us to deliver presidential address. Welcome you, ma'am. Dr. S. Jayapriya, Director, Center for Career Development and Head CDF Department is here with us for us conveying vote of thanks. Welcome you, ma'am. Behalf of NGI, Nehru Group of Institutions and Nehru Arts and Science College, IQAC, Carbros, and Career Development Cell, our special welcome to external participants, professors, faculties from other reputed institutions and organizations from different states of our country. Welcome you all. Last but not least, I welcome our organizing secretaries, Dr. Shani ma'am, Dr. Sorna ma'am, Dr. Saranya ma'am, and Manoj sir, and internal participants from our own college and sister concerns. Welcome you all. Once again, I welcome you all on behalf of Nehru Group of Institutions and NAC. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for extending that cordial welcome. Thank you so much. The success of every woman should be the inspiration to another. We should raise each other up. Make sure you're very courageous, you're strong, extremely kind, and above all, you're very humble. So, one such successful woman who helps other women to raise up is our controller of examination, Dr. K. Maithili Jnanapriya. We welcome you, ma'am, to preside over the session. Welcome, ma'am.
Ma'am, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
It's my great privilege and honor to be here for this TP session about hybrid education. to say a few words about the resource person and the topic which we have chosen today. Hybrid education is a combination of online activities and normal classroom or conventional classroom teaching, which is the latest trend in higher education. And today we had our governing council meeting, and most of the experts in that meeting were insisting us to learn about this hybrid model of education, because this will surely come into existence in the near future. So in that context, the topic which we have chosen today to enlighten all the academicians who have joined here virtually is a very apt and very useful thing, I feel. And so say about a resource person of the day, our principal, Dr. B. Anirudhan, one peculiar or one very good aspect what I feel about sir is, whatever topic in whatever field we choose him as a resource person, he is ready to deliver a topic or a talk on that topic. So that much resourceful person he is, and he has given a talk in outcome-based education, new education policy, NAAC reaccreditation, in almost all the topics related to higher education. So in that context, sir is the apt person or the right person for this right topic, I feel. So another 1 hour will be very much useful for us, I'm sure for that, because we have listened to a lot of his deliberations, and it will be very meaningful. And I welcome sir to give us a new change or a new idea about this hybrid model of education. Welcome sir, and thank you for the opportunity given to me.
Thank you, Dr. Maithili ma'am, for your brief presidential address. Thanks a lot. Before we move into the resource session, it is my bound duty to introduce the well-known resource person of the day, who is having 28 years of experience in teaching and administration, who has organized 1,700 conferences, seminars, webinars, and workshops at national and international levels. He has published more than 40 research articles and 5 books, organized and chaired international conferences in Malaysia, Bangkok, Dubai, Indonesia, and Australia. He has won Best Coordinator Award for the winning team of 6 National Youth Parliament competition by Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs and Government of India on 17 February 2005 at New Delhi. Under his able guidance, the college has got the 2F and 12B status of UGC, A grade by NAAC, autonomous status, DBT star status, and IEDC through his guidance. He has won Best Principal Award from International Institute of Education and Management, New Delhi, Rajiv Gandhi Education Excellence Award from International Institute of Education and Management. Under his guidance, the college has got Best Private Arts and Science College in Tamil Nadu Award from Worldwide Achievers Association in the year 2014, and Indiewood Educational Excellence Award, Indiewood Dubai, in the year 2018 and 2020. And he has received Sri P.K. Das Lifetime Achievement Award from our own institution, and the Best Production Unit Award from Nature Science Foundation. And sir has received Rashtriya Vibhushan Samman Puraskar Award with a gold medal from the Association for Rising and Talented Personalities, New Delhi. Torchbearer Award from India Didactics Association in the year 2019. And our institution is recognized as Mentor Institution, received certificate from Mahatma Gandhi National Council of Rural Education under the Ministry of Human Resource Development in Government of India for the exemplary performance in campus water and sanitation management in the year 2020. And Swachhata Action Plan Institution by Mahatma Gandhi National Council for Rural Education under the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India in September 2020. He has also received Best Principal Award for the year 2020 from Nature Science Foundation, Coimbatore. Received Certificate of Merit for Green Campus Audit, Eco Audit, and Hygiene Audit from Nature Science Foundation, Coimbatore. And our college is the Nodal Center for IIT Spoken Tutorial, and it is a mentoring institution for IIT Spoken Tutorial. And sir has also received Special Honor Award from Assisi Snehalaya Charitable Trust, Coimbatore, and Social Justice Leadership Award from Native Medicare Charitable Trust, Coimbatore. Most Judicious Award received from National Human Rights Committee, New Delhi, and Holistic Healer Award for Extraordinary Supporting in Counseling and Healing received from Srinath Karyat's Academy for Holistics Training in the year 2020. And he has also received Leadership Excellence Award in coordinating the International Student Exchange Program from NAST Malaysia. And he is also the peer team member. He's also a NAC peer team member since 2014. And sir is having patent which is certified by, granted by Australian government, granted by Intellectual Property Rights Government of India, and by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry Government of India. Apart from that, he has conducted more than 300 workshops on areas like NAC accreditation, outcome-based education, mentoring, IEDC, hybrid education, new education policy, green audit, emotional intelligence, professional counseling, transaction analysis, enneagram, chakra cleansing and healing, past life regression, etc. He has also acted as a panelist in the international level for IndieWood 2008 Hyderabad and in EduTalk organized by AIMRI in association with FSM of Aries Group of Companies Dubai on Is Hybrid Education the Future, and to which 112,000 viewers were there in November 2020. And in the national level, he has acted as a panelist for Dr. Ambedkar Study Center and PG Department of Political Science under IQAC of Shanti Devi Arya Mahalya College. And the title was Fundamentalism and a Threat to Nationalism on May 2021. He has also completed lead auditor course on environment management system, green campus audit, energy audit, and hygiene audit. Sir has also visited various countries like Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, China, and Dubai as a resource person. And to his cap, he has added another feather of taking COVID initiatives like preparing automatic hand sanitizing dispenser with temperature gauge, preparation of mask, hand sanitizer, and face shield. Such an eminent, enthusiastic, and as we always quote, he is the perfect, great, and courageous leader of Nehru Arts and Science College. As Team NAAC, today we are much proud to welcome our leader, Dr. B. Anirudhan, the resource person of the day on the platform. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you all so much. My sound is audible?
Yes,
Proper?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening, all of you. At the outset, let me thank all of you, especially my team, Dr. Tanuja for the welcome, Dr. Maithili for the presidential address, and Dr. Maldi for connecting the program, Dr. Manoj, Dr. Shani, Dr. Sharanya, and Dr. Jayapriya, who is going to propose vote of thanks, and Mr. Shankar Narayanan, who has helped me out in making a small video which I have sent across. I don't know how many of you have seen the video. That is today's presentation. Just 1.5 minutes video. We have a lot of different understanding about hybrid education. Last year, I was invited by an organization in Dubai to talk about hybrid education. That time, this topic was very new to me. There was another resource person as a panelist, and she was from Dubai. So I thought I would also try to speak something about hybrid education. Then, as usual, what we do now is go do a Google search, and Google search, nothing is there about hybrid education other than online and offline learning. But I thought we have to move in further. And then on, I have written one article and published about hybrid learning. Now I am writing a book on hybrid learning. So I thought I would take this as an opportunity to explore a little more into hybridization in different contexts. So that made me to prepare a small content. I try to talk for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then we'll have discussion because this topic would be relevant for, or this topic would take another 5 to 10 years to come into our campuses or the classrooms in the fashion in which I am going to do that today. But all of us know that this has started coming into, but then we have to widen our horizon of knowledge and implementation of hybridization of education from different perspective, not exactly partially offline, partially online. So that is what I just would like to say as an introduction. Now I would request Mr. Manoj to play this video once again, and after that I'll just go a little more deeper about the content in the video. Over to Manoj.
I hope the video is visible.
Yes, Manoj,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
It is possible.
Yes, I will play the video now.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Manoj.
So thank you,
So,
sir.
yeah, this is a 95-second video for a content of, or for a delivery of 1 hour. This is a 90-second content or video with a very simple music on it. So I took about 20 minutes to create the content, and Shankar took about another 20 minutes to make the video. That's it. That's how the video is made. So now I'll go a little deep into each item that I have tried to highlight in this. Let me share this. This is now visible for you.
Sir, no, sir.
No, sir.
It's loading.
It's loading.
Not yet, please, sir.
Sir, it is
Yeah.
saying viewing admin's application.
Let me try once again. Just please wait. It's available now.
No, sir.
Okay.
Shall I, sir?
Yeah, and Manu, that's better. You please do that. So why I've tried doing this by the time Manoj shares it, why I wanted to send this earlier, just to tell you, you can also create a small content like this to the students and tell them this is your syllabus for particular course. So each course can be made like this in a video of 1 minute to 2 minutes. So it becomes easy for the students to explore. This is where we call hybrid education in action. As I was telling you in the previous days also, that it is not that what we know, it is that what we try to implement, what we try to exercise and reap better outcomes of our knowledge. So all of us who are in this platform are very much aware of everything, the tools we use for different types of pedagogy, use of cloud, use of different digital tools, all there. And we know these things are available at different places, but then putting it together and using it for the betterment of the students in the class or betterment of us as a better teacher. So that hardly happens. For that, only I request all of you to pick up certain points from these deliberation, all the deliberations of 7 days, 6 days. What is it that you feel you could do for your institution and for yourself? Manoj, this is tilted.
Yes, sir. Once again, sir. Once again.
Yeah. You're trying in the PDF only, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. PDF only, sir.
Yeah, fine. Okay. And basically, we know certain things about the current system, current scenario of higher education, that we have gone fully from offline to online, from seminar to webinar, from college to home, from classroom to bedroom, and from stationary learning to mobile learning, and from teacher-centric learning to student-centric learning, so on and so forth. We know all those things. But hybrid education in the future would be a blend of online and offline things. So what could be online and what could be offline? And how do we decide upon the worth of offline credits or online credits? How the teachers need to modify their outcome or regular practices in the class? All those things make a lot of difference. Manoj, are you ready to slide on?
Sir, is it visible, sir?
Yeah, this is visible now. For me, it's
Okay, sir.
visible. Others, Malti, Dr. Malti, is visible for you?
Sir, it is visible, sir. It is visible.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, just now move on, Manoj. Move to next slide, please. Yeah. So we have been for years together or for centuries together, we have been depending fully on the offline mode. Now for the COVID, we have become totally transferred to fully online mode, and from direct learning to distance learning, from regular learning to virtual learning. So when we think of hybrid education, please do not think there'll be partial online classes and partial offline classes post-COVID. So now during COVID, it is fully online. Sometimes, depending upon the time frame, students might be permitted to come to the college to do their practical exam. But post-COVID, how the world is going to look at this phenomenal change in the academics. So today also, like Dr. Maithili Janapriya told in the governing body, few of the governing body members suggested to go in for hybrid mode of education. They didn't use the word hybrid education. They told online and offline mode. Let there be at least 40% of online. Then that should be within the framework of the curriculum. And what are the types of courses you would plan for offline, and what are the kind of courses you will plan for offline in a curriculum? So this we have to see. So it is not that you take 50% or 60% offline and 40% online. That alone is not the hybridization aspect. We'll go more on to this and see what are the other aspects of hybrid learning. Manoj, please, Media. So we have designed a lot of workshops and meeting in the physical format. Now it has gone into totally virtual, like this, what we are seeing now, and a lot of collaboration tools. We used to invite the vendors and make use of them, and doing it for the examination, for ERP, for all the activities related to academic and administration. Now that everybody is coming online, even there was a discussion today, there are new softwares came into for doing practicals online. Any kind of practical online practicals are possible during certain softwares. So this is the current scenario, and how are we going to blend it? We'll see. Okay, Manoj. See, this is a wonderful aspect coming up. So this is for the national education policy or the new education policy. NIRF, NAC, they all insist on MOOCs. MOOCs have come into in the last decade, but slowly Indians started talking about the MOOC maybe 3 years, 4 years back. And now that everybody is insisting on MOOC, MOOC has to be compulsory, a component for the education system, especially in higher education. It won't take much of time for MOOCs to go into school level. So one component of hybrid education or online education or virtual education is acquiring MOOCs. And when we talk about MOOCs, in India thought of MOOC, NPTEL was there, but then now SWAYAM has come into picture maybe past 3 years. So India is trying to, or India has made new education policy looking at different wonderful performing acts of the best universities in this world. Like yesterday, Dr. Chandrasekhar was talking about what's happening in France, then France to through Germany to Russia to US and finally to India. This would take a lot of time. We don't wait when India will reach to that level. That's not the query. And what is it that India is going to take as a first step? Over 50 more years, we have been talking about Macaulay system of education, trying to blame Britishers, when we were having our own education ministry, education secretaries, education system. We never wanted to revamp. Now at least we have taken a step. When we will be able to hunt Nobel Prizes, that's a question to be asked on a later point of time. But are we as a community of educators ready to adopt these changes? And if you look at all should have MOOCs, all teachers should have MOOC, all students should go in for MOOCs. Ask or have an introspection about each college you are here from. Go to your college, or if you know it, find out whether this is a compulsory component in your academics at UG and PG level. And all your teachers have taken up some MOOCs, maybe from SWAYAM or from Coursera or from Khan Academy or from Unacademy or from any such platform. So MOOC is going to be something very, very important hereafter, be it for 2 credits, be it for 5 credits, be it for micro credits or nano credits. Let people go in for that for 2 reasons. One, MOOC is now internationally accepted. And second, the quality of content in MOOC is very high, because MOOCs have been designed with high quality video content, wonderful deliberation, lot of animation, pictorial representations, movies, and lot of things are there that makes learning very easy. That's a wonderful thing in MOOC. There are learners. All these MOOCs are created keeping the learner in the center, not the teacher in the center. So the learner, sometimes some learners are visual learners, some are audio learners. Now we used to have the practice of only audio learning. The teacher will speak and the students will listen to. And when it comes to the video content, it can be a visual effect, visual learning. And there is a third type of learners called kinesthetic learners. Anyway, we are not going to do that with online or offline. Definitely offline, online it is not possible. So MOOCs are going to play a very vital role in the hybridization process hereafter. And again, from anywhere in this world, from any place, you can acquire a MOOC, and it is flexible. You can do it on a Sunday, you can do it on your when you're traveling. So a lot of such options are there to acquire MOOCs. What I am trying to tell you is all these things are going to be compulsory components of education system in the academic framework, within the frame. Okay. So this is also there in the new education policy. See this academic bank of credit, ABC. So this we have been talking about even before the NEP came into visibility. See this academic bank of credit is as simple as you start an account in a bank, you deposit 100 rupees. This 100 rupees you can withdraw from anywhere in this world because it is in the bank, it is your money. Using a card or using any kind of an instrument, you can claim this money at any point of time. So the same concept has come into the earning of academic credits and deposit that credits into your bank. Those credits may be compiled later to give you a diploma, a higher diploma, a degree, a PG diploma, or a PG program as well. So you can start earning credits. Now we are thinking of this credit system in the colleges and higher education institutions. Probably this credit system would come into schools as well in maybe 5 years down the line. So definitely in 5 years to 10 years, this is going to be something very, very important. And these credits are going to be accepted worldwide. It will take time. See now what is happening, even if you have an MBBS degree from India, when you go to US, it is not accepted. You have your MBA or you have your MSc. If you want to go to US, you have to do your MS there. It's not accepted. So the credits are going to be internationally acclaimed. That means you have 1,000 rupees in your credit. You go to US, you will get equivalent dollars. Same way, the credits that you keep on adding the credits, you can claim this credits anywhere. For example, you have certain credits that you have earned by learning music. You have 2 credit course you have done in music, and somebody has done 2 credit course in drawing. Somebody has done 2 credit course in home automation or business management, advertisement, whatever. You can add this credit to your bank and you join a UG program or a PG program. If your syllabus tells you have a core subject, a framework of core and a framework of flexible credits. In that flexible credits, the choice will be non-linear. The choice will be multidisciplinary. That means a guy who is doing his MBBS, he can pursue a 4 credit course in music or a 2 credit course in sculpting. It's all possible because that area or the multidisciplinary area is kept open. A student has got enough choice to do over and above the core. There are now a lot of videos available in the YouTube. Like a student who is very good in computer science, he has to write certain other examinations, and he has failed in the other examination. He's a wizard in computer, but he is not able to do his computer degree. He's not able to earn his computer degree just for the reason that someone is speaking.
Please see to that your mic.
Rufina Rosalind Mary. Miss Rufina Rosalind Mary, please mute your mic. They have switched on the mic and went off somewhere, it seems. Anyway, so then with this credit might come into your support to get your degree awarded. Plus, there are possibilities, definite possibilities, that whatever extra credits you are earning, that extra credits will be added to your certification. You do a degree program of 144 credits, 140 credits, or 150 credits. There'll be 10 extra credits added, and that 10 extra credit will be mentioned for what you have got this 10 extra credit. So that is going to be a big value for you when you apply for a job. So this is going to happen. This is another thing or an advantage in the hybrid model of education. Manoj, please move on. So about the credit, I was telling, there's choice. There's a multiple choice. You can have plenty of choice, a basket of choice, and in that, all the creative side of you. We have seen in our college, you might also have seen a lot of guys coming and joining in certain programs that is not their choice. My father told, my uncle told, we have a practice of having one-to-one interview with the parent and the student before the admission. In that, some students will join in a computer science program or a microbiology or biotechnology program. We'll ask him, what is your ambition? What is your future? Where do you want to see you after 10 years? He'll say, I want to become a film director. So somebody who would like to become a film director, and he has done a lot of things. We'll ask why you want to become a film director. Then he'll say, I have made a few short films for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, and it has come out very good. Somebody has appreciated. But my mother wanted me to join for microbiology, and my neighbor, my school teacher, told microbiology is having a lot of scope. You can become a lab assistant, lab attender, or you can become a microbiologist. So where is a film director and where is a microbiologist? I'm talking about the passion. So here, if you happen to take up microbiology also, you have a choice of doing some credit course, some courses of your choice for the same institution, if it is available, or any institution across the world that is having academic value now. So that is a wonderful combination or wonderful hybrid model. It's not online, offline again. This hybridization between the subject, your core subject, and the subject of your passion, or the subject of your choice, or the subject of your hobbies, learning music, learning painting, learning photography, learning architecture, learning interior design. So all those things are given a very good chance to come into. So that is a hybridization model. So you have a lot of choice when you go in for higher studies hereafter. Yeah. See, this is something now we used to have. Where did you complete your degree from? You will say X college, X university. Now from the mother institution, we are going to other institutions. So other institution is any institution other than your mother institution, all institutions. Look at the choice. You take a 4-credit course from MIT. You can take a 4-credit course from a fine arts college. That is virtually possible, physically also possible. That is where twinning comes into picture. Anyway, we will deal it a little later. So this is a wonderful hybridization. You can go to any college and learn. You can learn online, or you can learn even offline. That is why international collaboration is coming into picture. If, for example, you take catering science and hotel management, if there is a hybridization between Indian colleges and a college in Switzerland. Switzerland is a place known for or a wonderful destination for tourists. So if you say there is a 3-month course in Switzerland in association with certain hotels which are located in the prime areas of tourism, and that will be a huge difference. So you acquire 4 credits from those places about hospitality, then you need not have to sit in the hospitality class of your college. Even though it is in the syllabus, you are earning those credits from Switzerland or any place. Not necessarily Switzerland. You can go to a hotel in Ooty and learn it, a Kodaikanal, or you can go to Mumbai, any place where tourism is prevalent or a lot of people are coming or a lot of foreigners are coming. So that is the advantage. This can be anywhere in this world and this is going to be accepted all over India. And once we say it is going to be accepted all over India, there are a lot of discussions going on. Such credit transfers will be made available or easily made available for every educator across the world. Across the world. That's why if you go to Malaysia or if you go to Singapore, learn some credits. So animation. If you say animation, I'm going to get a 6 credit course from some institute in Singapore, where the institute is very famous for animation. So you can go there, learn it and come back and you can have that being added to your academic credit. And when you go out with a degree, somebody looks at your profile of mark sheet, they'll understand you have earned credits from different other institutions than your mother institution. So you have taken MOOCs from MIT, you have taken a 3-month course from the University of Singapore, you have traveled to Sri Lanka for, so this is depending upon in what area they are very good. You can go to IIT Bombay, anywhere. This is going to happen. So the upcoming teachers, the young teachers, those who have more than 10 years of experience left or service left, you have to be very careful in equipping yourself, or you should be a hybrid. You should be able to teach online and offline. You should be able to learn offline and online. You should be able to cater to all those things which we are discussing now as a hybrid teacher or hybrid system enabled teacher, a teacher who can support hybrid education. So this is what is going to happen. Okay, just please move on. So this is something which I was seriously thinking of, and I have told one of my favorite colleagues in the college, Dr. Kanagaratnam. She is heading the Department of Commerce, and she is the director of Women's Cell of our Center of Women Excellence, about the clustering of institutions. So we have sent communication to different colleges to form a cluster, a consortium of colleges or a cluster of institutions. And this cluster will sit together and decide upon courses. For example, my college is very good for commerce or microbiology or biotechnology. Colleges from students from the cluster institutions can come and be in our college for 2 weeks, 1 month. This would become a student exchange program and a staff exchange program. This is a hybridization. Exchange of students and staff on a continuous basis to learn the same course from the cluster places, the cluster institution. So now, anyway, 4 institutions are ready. We are going to start it immediately. Today also, I was telling in the governing body meeting in my presentation, we are going to take up cluster. There might be institutions ready to join for us. And biggest advantage in clustering is, so this program is being organized by our college. If there are cluster institutions, those cluster institutions can easily join. So a resource person, the visibility of the resource person, the depth of the content, the certification, everything happens for all the other institutions. Same way, when those institutions are doing, we are partnering with them. And if there is a cost to be divided, the cost can be divided. If there is no cost, it is fine. So that clustering will support the students, the faculty, the administration, placement, training. So this will go in a big way in the years to come. So cluster of institution or clustering of institution is another hybrid model. Single institution to multiple institution, that is a hybrid model. Single location to multiple locations. So when we make a consortium of institution, my college, our college is in Coimbatore, there are colleges, Mumbai college we are trying with, one college from the northeast side of Tamil Nadu we are trying. So this is how the one college is coming up from Kerala. So there's a kind of understanding, or there is a kind of evaluating the magnitude of knowledge of different places. So location wise, sometimes the knowledge differs. Sometimes in Shimla or in Srinagar or in Kashmir Valley, there will be certain courses offered as a part of some program that may not be necessary for a place like Coimbatore, or some course offered in the program in Mumbai need not be a course offered in Kerala. So they can, we will understand why this course is very important in that part of the country in this program, and why that same is not important in this part or another part of the country for the same course. So this also now NEP is going to address. So this clustering of institution is going to be a wonderful hybrid model. Again, initially we will start clustering the colleges within the country or within the state. Later we can think of clustering the colleges or institutions across the world. And second level of clustering can be education institutions can cluster with industry. That can be another model, because now we are talking about learning through research, learning through internship, learning through experience. In that context, industrial tie-up will play a wonderful role, a very vital role, not only for scaling up the skills of the students, but for employability and entrepreneurship as well. So this cluster of institutions will be another hybrid model, and twinning program can happen 1.5 years or 1 year in one place, another 1 year or 2 years in another place. So they can be a twin degree or a dual degree or a combination. This will be certified by 2 institutions across the world. There are possibilities, and this is going to come into being in another 5 to 10 years time. Okay, Manoj, please move on. So examinations and assessment, we have seen the totally upside down change of the examination system from the core physical type of examination to fully online and open book or whatever. That, you know, as teachers, we know how the exams are happening now. And later what is going to happen is, as a hybrid model, there can be certain offline examinations compulsorily, I'm talking about post-COVID, and certain online examinations compulsorily. So each program, each institution can identify what are the courses you are going to take up online and what are the courses you are going to take up offline, or how many credits are going to be offline, how many credits are going to be online. So this kind of an assessment is another hybrid assessment, online and offline, physical classes and virtual classes. How to quantify that kind of an examination pattern will come. And sometimes of late, this much credit is compulsory for online and this much credit for compulsory for offline also can come in the future. Very clearly, it will be communicated by the parent universities to all the colleges. So this is also we have to be very careful about. How are we going to conduct online and offline examination together, or what is going to be the time frame for those? Is it going to be for 100 marks or 50 marks or 25 marks? Is it going to be a part of the continuous assessment? Online examinations also will be on a continuous assessment basis. Offline examination also will be on a continuous assessment basis. And end of the academic year or the academic semester, it will be summated and will say, this guy for year 1 has got these many credits online and these many credits offline. And now what we are going to see is, based on this assessment and examination, the syllabus will be hereafter framed. If it is a 3-year program, the syllabus will be very clearly demarcated for 1 year as a certificate course, 2 years as a diploma and 3rd year as a degree. So he is completing only 1 year in the college. He will be having a diploma and he will be, certification, and he'll be having certain credits to his account. Or he is doing only 1 semester. At the current system, he does 2 years also, he discontinues, he lost. He is not having any credits in his hand. Nothing, zero. So if he completes 6 months, 1 semester, he'll be having certain credits in his bank. Some money is in his account. After 2 years, he is coming back and joining in the same institution or any institution in India. This credit is there available for him. He need not have to go on the credit again. He can straight away go to 2nd semester or 2nd year, depending upon the credit. And during the time of his discontinuation, he can earn credits online also. Then based on the credits he has acquired, he can go into the 3rd semester or 4th semester as well, because he is having the balance of credit in his account. So, okay, Manoj. There are certain advantages, and the advantages are, cost and time. So this, look at this time. When we are sitting here, we never thought of 2 years back, we never thought there'll be classes like this. There'll be online EDP, and EDP we used to contact people from different parts of the country will come to our college, stay there. We'll go for evening tour, purchase and the campfire, नाचना गाना ये सब होता था. लेकिन now it is fully, you sit at your home, you can sit in your bedroom, you can even lie down, you can walk and talk, you can be in your garden. So time saving and cost saving, and there's no cost involved. Most of the cases, time, and you can be in a relaxed mode. So this is an advantage. There are a few more advantages, but then this, why I'm telling is this has to be made as an advantage of time and cost when we hybrid this model. So you are talking about certain courses will be online. When are you going to have this online classes on a hybrid model? We have 2 weekend days, Saturday and Sunday. Are you going to use 2 hours in the Saturday and 1 hour in Sunday? Or are you going to use 4 hours in Saturday or 2 hours in Sunday? Whatever. That kind of a model you have to come forward with proper discussion with the stakeholders. So students, we have to ask the students, when we decide this model, we have to ask, shall it be on a Sunday or on a Saturday? We need 3 hours. Between Saturday and Sunday, we need 3 hours. It can be 1.5 hours each, 1 hour plus 2 hours, or total 3 hours on a single day. Depending upon that, you can find out the time for these children to take up these courses online. So time and cost is a saving. Please move on. And there are certain clear disadvantages. One is a physical connect is not available. Let's say we used to have a lot of friendship, love, camaraderie, a lot of things. We used to make fellowship, but then that is not happening. That cannot happen online. This current mode, but it's not applicable for a hybrid mode. For a hybrid mode, it's going to be there. But on a continuous distance mode or an online mode, there's a physical disconnect, there's an emotional disconnect, and less accountability. Now we have seen people just switch it on and go off. They do not know, we do not know where they are going. And if we ask everybody to open the camera and unmute their mic, then there'll be a lot of chaos, noise, bandwidth problem. So this is going to be a disadvantage. And we are digitally divided. We do not know whom are we talking to. We do not know who are our first year students. We do not know where are they coming from, their personal background. Nothing we know, because we don't have time for that. There is no provision in the, we are digitally divided. And networking possibility. So this networking possibility is something which I would like to take 1 or 2 minutes on, because I strongly believe in networking with people. In this group also, many of the people who are in this network, this platform, is because of my personal networks and networks of my colleagues in my college. So when we talk about this networking, I was discussing this with a few of my friends. Some of my friends are principals in colleges in different parts of Punjab, because we used to conduct this international conference. In that, we have a network, and I maintain the relationship. When I spoke to Kiran Arora, he is the principal of PC MSD College, Jalandhar, she told, no problems, sir, don't worry, I'll ask, or some of my teachers are ready to join. And I think more than 5 of her faculty has joined in this. And my friend Harikesh is there from Uttarakhand. My friend Murthy is there in this platform. It's all on a single call or a single message. They'll join, they'll ask their friends join. And not only joining for a program, there is any problem, there is an emotional challenge, there is another challenge. We talk to this friend, there is an immediate help. So I have hundreds of examples for that. When you are staying connected, the possibilities of exploring the relationship, the possibility of exploring solutions for problems are innumerable. Any kind of problem, be it a family problem, be it an official problem, be it a core personal problem, you can get solutions from your own friends when you are connected. So that kind of a connectivity, and behind this connectivity, there's a strong emotional bonding. So a lot of such friends are there from different parts of India. And that is why I feel this emotional connectivity and networking is a disadvantage in this online mode, but on a hybrid model, it is not there. So this hybrid model, when we come, there are possibility for the emotional connect, physical friendship, and definitely they'll be online as well. Okay, please move on. See, we used to talk about almost about 2 decades back, we used to talk about only education. There was never entrepreneurship. We used to maximum talk about placement. For the past 1 decade or more, we have been talking about placement. Now, more than placement, we are very serious about entrepreneurship. Almost, I know, past 2 decades, the institutions were continuously talking on entrepreneurship development cell, entrepreneurship development courses in the campus. Now the campuses have started entrepreneurship on their own by incubating companies. Now Newgen IEDC, government is pumping a lot of money. So Newgen IEDC, we have 4 companies under Newgen IEDC, and we have started having this company or entrepreneurship development in the campus 12 years back, when this was not even talked at all. And we have incubated company 3 years back under the name of Faculty CEO. Faculty can start company. So here in this Carboros is one company, and you have sent money only to Carboros. So we can incubate company in the campus and show up as models. The teachers can incubate company, students have incubated company in the campus, even if there is a funded incubation center or not. You can incubate company, there can be money generated. That can be set as a model. So this is going to be a hybridization of academic education and a hybridization of a business model. It can be a hybrid model of education, entrepreneurship, and real-time business startup. So business incubation or business startup along with education is a hybrid model. So a student who is studying in the college, not necessarily to incubate a company in the campus itself, is one possibility. If not, he can start an entrepreneurship in his hometown, and that can be supported by the college or the industry or the faculty. So this would come out as a wonderful hybrid model in the future. A student, while he is studying, he can take up an entrepreneurship officially. Why I say this entrepreneurship officially? He can choose entrepreneurship as courses, and that credit can be transferred to his account. So 3 months he is not coming to the college, he is earning some credits on entrepreneurship, he is running a business. That time he is having 2 advantages. One, he is going to run his business. Second, he is going to earn the credit. It will not be marked as absent in reading by the teacher. It will be considered as on duty, and he is going to earn 4 credits through entrepreneurship. That is what I'm trying to tell you. So if you incubate a company outside also, For incubation, he can claim his credit. Anyway, these are things that we are going to see. So education is going to be blended with, or going to have a hybridization with entrepreneurship and real-time business. And yesterday also, two scholars came to me for getting their thesis signed, students of scholars of Dr. Vijayaraghavan. And normally these bioscience projects used to be very, very good. And they have innovated some products, but the products, the children are happy with 2 Scopus Index publications and a PhD. They are very, very happy. So I was trying to tell them this, we have been talking for the past 10 years in the college. Why not that paper can be turned into a product? Why not that lab tested sample can become a product on land, useful? That was about biopesticide. So any biopesticide or any bioinsecticide is going to have a lot of value hereafter. So that can be a hybrid model. On one side, you learn by research, you learn by and through research, and outcome of the research should not be a paper or should not be limited to a paper. It should be coming out as a product or a process. So that is a hybrid model. Some experiments that you do in the lab, that has come to land. So this is where the incubation of companies or new gen IEDs is coming into picture in the campus. During the time of studentship, when we talk about the internship, we were discussing in our HOD's meeting and the advisory committee meeting, the students who are taking up this project in their study, that project has to have a paper at the end published in the journal, and that should lead to a product, a process, or a product. So this is how we have to support them at the UG level, and that is what DBT's STAR scheme is talking about, promotion of science learning at UG level. So this is going to be a hybrid model hereafter. So please move, Manoj. So industrial requirements and academic framework, this is another hybrid model going to come. See, it's very difficult to have industry coming to our campus, or industries are not permitting the academia to go to the industry as well. This is all now limited to MOUs. We have certain MOUs, and majority of the MOUs will start and sleep, and some MOUs will be functional. So this is going to be a hybrid model hereafter by some kind of amendments from the government itself. Each industry which is having a turnover of so and so money must be able to offer projects for the students. This is going to come. Wait and see. There should be a strong academic framework, a connection between the academia and the industry on an official context. There will be resolutions passed in the parliament. This is coming in the parliament for discussion. So maybe 5 years later or after that, academia, industry academia partnership is going to be a hybrid. Again, when you learn marketing management, when you learn production engineering, when you learn advertisement from an industry, you will get that credit, and you need not have to sit in the theory class of the advertisement or marketing. So this is going to happen as a hybrid model. And when I'm telling about this hybrid model, this is purely with an understanding that whatever you learn from the industry or anywhere, that will be added to your ABC, Academic Bank of Credits. So, okay, Manoj, move on. So digital infrastructure, this I was trying to tell in the early day also. This is a problem that we have. We do not have power everywhere in our country. Digital connectivity, we have problem. Digital devices, we have problem. When you sit for a presentation like this, I have 3 devices with me. So if one device is failing, because we have no confidence what time our internet will go off, connectivity will go off, power will go off. So this is a problem. So India as a country need to build up digital infrastructure and interconnectivity and
Sir, not
awareness
audible,
on.
sir.
Not audible?
Someone's mic is on. Who's that?
So,
Please,
uh,
participants, please mute your mic.
I'm audible, Malti?
Sir, you're audible, sir. It's
No,
clear.
no, no, okay, sir. No, okay, sir.
Yeah, in between somebody was muting. That is why our people, I mean, Dr. Malti continuously has been telling about this. So this is a problem. This is what I'm trying to say. This digital infrastructure, when someone else, we are having hundreds of people or sometimes thousands of people will come in the same platform hereafter. If one person switches on his mic or his microphone, there is a problem. So this has to be addressed. And awareness on digital ethics and digital learning, digital platforms. So this kind of an awareness, India as a country, we do not have clear awareness on digital learning, digital infrastructure, digital etiquettes, and education possibilities during using digital media. So these things should come into as an awareness program, like we talk something about NEP now, same way we talk something about digital learning also. This may take few more years to get its necessary strength for everyone to understand what exactly is digital education, what are the possibilities that we can explore. The same time, I can see all the people can interact with me. So that kind of a mode will come, like when you sit in a cinema, we can see all the people. The same way, there'll be a development coming in the near future that all can see each other, interact each other. People can use personalized chat box. For example, if I have a girlfriend in my class or I have another friend in my class, I need to talk something very seriously to him. They can be channelized digital chatting possible. This all is going to come. So I am very much hopeful on a hybrid education, which is going to be very useful for us in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of quality of education, and in terms of many other things which we are going to see in the practical mode. Okay, Manoj, move on, please. So a perfect blend of all the above should be the future, the hybrid learning. And now almost half an hour is left. I would request all of you to post your questions if you have anything, or you can have some suggestions because certain things are totally under thought process. Like what I have concluded, telling that you will be sitting in the class, you will be having with personalized chat options. These are all thinking. I don't know whether things will come like this or can come better than this. So there is definitely going to be a non-linear possibility of learning and teaching using this hybrid model. And I am very hopeful that this hybrid education will support everyone in a big way. You can travel abroad for earning credits. You can earn credits online from any university in this world. A lot of such platforms would be coming up to support digital learning and hybrid education. That way is going to be the future. Thank you all. And thank you for patient listening. And some of the ideas that I put across are might be vague for you and me as well. Now it's over to all of you for clarification or suggestions or comments or adding to it, whatever. So thank you all so much once again.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful deliberation. If there is any queries, we request the participant to kindly post the queries in the chat box. I think we are all spellbound with the session, so there is no comment also in the chat box. So if there is any queries, please post your queries in the chat box alone, please.
If a single person is asking question, I think they can unmute and ask also, because we have single platform now. That possibility also can be explored. Unmute and show up your face and ask question. We can try the possibility. If it is working good, fine. If it is not working good, we'll go to the same old chat box usage.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Sir, there is one question from Dr. Rajkumar. Manu sir, shall I?
Yes, ma'am. You continue, ma'am. I will.
Yes, sir. Okay. Who will benefit more in the hybrid education? Is it the teachers or the students?
Definitely benefit of more benefit will be for the student, but the hybrid education will support lot of good teachers to develop their content and sell their content. So content is going to be of very high demand. For example, you are now talking about robotics or quantum computing. How many MOOCs are available for quantum computing from Indian context? I think it is almost nil. So somebody is going to create a content on upcoming subjects. So we do not know what are the upcoming subjects. So now we know very clearly we have applied for data science this year. Our university do not know the syllabus of data science or what is the framework. So somebody who is able to visualize, it is not necessary that 100% should be correct on that. But as like I was telling you now, on a digital platform, there are 200 people, there can be individual chat boxes possible. So you can develop a content on that. It can be a hybrid content. It can be a content of your vision, not necessarily should be very clear. I mean, very true later. It can be a hypothesis. Even the NEP is a hypothesis only. So hypothetically, you can create content. Any teacher who has got that kind of a vision on education can continuously create content. And once you create a content, you do not know from where and all you'll get money. It's a huge money behind developing contents, and depending upon the views, depending upon which digital platform is going to buy your content. Coursera can come and buy your content, or anybody can come and buy your content for a huge amount. So that content creation, that part, there is going to be a lot of benefit for teachers who are very serious about looking at the changes in the education field, and definitely not necessary to be with the content of Indian programs or the courses that we offer in India. It can be anywhere in this world. So that way, the new gen teacher, that is why we have used the word smart teachers, emergence of smart teachers. So those who become smart can make smart money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There is another question from Dr. Sunita. As Dr. Chandrasekhar commented yesterday, will we be having two category of faculties? Like one is for online teaching and one is for offline teaching. Will it be like that?
See, there are possibilities. Again, that is hypothetical. But one thing is very sure, there can be two types of teacher. One is a frontline teachers, one is a teacher behind the screen. Because behind the screen teachers are going to make huge money. The frontline teachers like us will get only the salary. The teachers who are going to create content, someone is very good at animation. So I have my content. I'm not good at animation. There is a teacher who is able to create content, use animation tools. I'll go with this content, sit with him. He'll create a content for me using animation. I'll sell that content. So for content creation or animating my content, he is being paid. So anybody who's that way in video editing, in giving music, in blending the content, there are a lot of scope for such teachers, provided those tools you have to learn. That is again a hybridization, learning of tools.
Thank you so much, sir. And there is another question from Dr. Ritu Ravindran. How is hybrid learning different from blended learning?
See, blended learning, I have sent you the today's my topic as a small video. That's a blended model. I'll give you the content before and discussion will happen physically. That is a blended model. A hybrid model is more than, and a blended model of learning is only for a learning purpose between a student and a teacher. A hybrid model is without teacher, you can learn from MOOCs. You can earn credits with that. So, in hybrid model, the online part, you have a lot of freedom. In a blended model, in the normal context, a blended model is between a teacher and set of students, or between teachers or between students. There is a blended model. And blended model, I have attended a workshop in Mumbai, a 7-day workshop on blended learning, I think 4 years back. So 4 years back, blended learning was a very emerging topic. Now more people talk about blended learning, but how many of us are able to use blended model? So I'll tell you a blended model very easily, which I have tried in my college. All of you know about NAC. So NAC, we have 7 criteria, and 7 criteria. I have made one presentation for criterion 1, curriculum design and development, and then I have told my faculty to divide them into 6 groups. We took numbering 1 to 6, so 1 to 6. So all 1s will join a group, all 2s like that, all 6 will join a group. There will be 6 groups. These 6 groups of people will be given 4 hours time. They can go to lab, they can sit in a group, whatever they want, they can do. And after 4 hours, they have to come back, and group 1 has to present criterion 2, teaching, learning, evaluation, and criterion 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. They come back. So that is a blended model. I have given some instruction to them. They'll deliberate among themselves and come to some kind of a conclusion, come back to the same class. All the students will come back to the class. Each student will present whatever is assigned to them. That's a perfect blended model. That means in the blended model, what would happen is the students will have more discussions among themselves, and teacher become a perfect facilitator, a mentor, a guide. And teachers should have wonderful knowledge about the subject, otherwise you will not be able to evaluate. This is an evaluation. Which group is doing very good, whether group 2 with the criterion 2 or criterion 3 or criterion 7, innovation and best practices. So this is how that every member in the group will be seriously discussing about certain point, and a group leader will compile the whole point and come in front of the podium and present it for all the 6 groups. And 2 are the biggest advantage. All the learners will be involved equally, and all will know everything. Now, people who were working only on second criterion will know about 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 1 from me, from other groups. So equal opportunity to learn. It's a complete inclusive learning. This blended model is a complete inclusive learning. Otherwise, what will happen in a class is, I'll keep on lecturing. You may listen, you may not listen. This is voluntarily you are involving everybody into the class. That's a perfect blended model. And when 2 times I have experimented this, I have got wonderful results. One is my knowledge will improve. Second, everybody will get involved. The people who have presented second criterion will never forget what is second criterion. Same way, third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth, and seventh. So this is how a blended model can work. In a classroom, a course can be divided into 4 or 5 segments, give it to different batch of students, tell that next Friday there is going to be a presentation. Each group is expected to do this. If the teacher says, the teacher can evaluate. So this can be a blended model. I think I have answered your question.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from Dr. Jaypriya. How to assess the digital skills and soft skills of students through online examination?
It's good that I drank water before that. Otherwise, this question would have made me drink water. This is a very wonderful and pertinent question, a challenging question for the time being. We have to devise tools for that. As of now, we know examination, how do we conduct examination? And soft skills, even physically, we do not have devised any tools officially to evaluate soft skills other than telling in OBE. Definitely, this has to be elaborately discussed. There should be rubrics identified for this. Thank you, Dr. Jaypriya, for this wonderful question. This is a question applicable to everybody in this digital format, that we have to design rubrics to assess the soft skills of the students online. This is something very important. First of all, we have to design tools for offline assessment of soft skills. Not only soft skills, certain things which we say under the third component of OBE, the character or the or the soft side of a student, that we have to decide tools for that. Anyway, we'll be designing tools for that. Definitely, this will be a question, or this we have to find out answers internally by individual teacher or as department. This is going to be a pattern in the model of examination.
Thank you, sir. And the other question is from Dr. Vimal Kumar. Many of the students feel very irreluctant to sit and listen in the house virtually. So how to upgrade the mental health of the students?
So this is not only applicable to students. Many of the teachers also, when we have staff meeting, we would have seen people will on it and go. So this is all depending upon that's what I was telling before, the accountability. There is no accountability. So it is end of the day, it is for the learner to ensure we can, especially on a digital mode, on the other side of the hybrid model, it can only be translated or transferred through this mode. So it is for the learner to ensure. And see, mental health, even during the physical classes, students will be sitting in the class and sleeping. Students sometimes might not come to the class. After coming to the college, they'll cut the class. All there. It's happening in the physical, in the digital platform also. As a teacher, you cannot think of seriously about the mental health of any student. But then what you can think of is, you can think of the validity of your content. What is it that you are going to deliberate? So if you send a small video like I have sent you, tomorrow this is going to be the deliberation in the class. There can be certain anxiety creating components in that. Like you look at the TV serial will end with some big question. So people will be inquisitive to know or listen to the next day. Same way the teachers have to become smart, that you will be sending the gist of tomorrow's class to them. They'll come prepared. Otherwise, definitely 5% or 10% of the students or teachers will be like that, who will not have interest on these general things. But otherwise, by and large, it is for the learner. Learner is not, students only are not learners. When you are sitting on the other side listening to somebody, you are a learner. The learner can be a teacher, a parent, anybody can be a learner. So if you feel you are investing your time on learning something, you have to set your mind. That's what I would say.
Thank you, sir. And there's another question from Dr. Sunita ma'am. UGC has given a suggestion of 60% offline and 40% online. Will this be implemented in this academic year?
Definitely not. It cannot be, because we are just discussing about it. This 40% online, 40%, 60% offline cannot come into picture, because we do not know from state to state, from program to program, what is it that we divide for 40% and what is it that we are going to divide for 60%. Or that freedom has to be given to the universities. Then universities have to make a framework. What are the courses which we would take for online? And again, in online, whether the online courses of this 40% from the same university or mother institution or other institution. So there should be a lot of serious deliberations on this. Definitely for the upcoming academic year, it cannot come. It can come when things become better. There need to be a lot of discussion. But then at the present scenario, what government can decide, nobody will be able to anticipate and give an answer on that. Anyway, I do not expect as an individual that it won't come in immediately. It would take a lot of time.
Thank you, sir. Dr. K. Maithili, there's a question from Dr. Maithili Priya ma'am. What are the qualities to be acquired by the teachers for this shift?
That's a wonderful question again. So our title says that teachers have to become smart. Become smart in terms of 2-3 things. One is acquisition of knowledge on usage of digital tools. So digital learning is something very, very important. And the inquisitive of the teacher to learn new contents, depending upon every time, especially the autonomous colleges. Now the universities also have started having changes in the content. So every time, every board of studies will recommend for change of courses. A teacher should be able to learn the new subject or new course without telling that when I have done my MCA, this was not there, or I am going to retire next year, I don't want this job. So that kind of a passive teacher would never be able to sustain in the upcoming years, especially when we are going to offer hybrid model. So there should be a redesign in the thinking pattern of the teachers, or the teachers also will say, now millennium guys, likewise we have to say millennium teachers. So teachers have to become smart to adopt the technology, learn new content. And when you learn new content and you adopt the technology, it will be easy for you to create your own contents. Today also we are talking about the development of e-content. So e-content development of a course will be something very, very imperative for any teacher. So when you talk about this digital content, it becomes multidisciplinary. A teacher who's teaching commerce or literature may not be very good or versatile at using technology, especially content creation. For content creation, you have to write a content a script, validate the content, you have to prompt, you have to act, you have to shoot, you have to have post-production, editing, lot of things are there. So a teacher should be able to at least learn the minimum of all those things. Then only the teacher will be able to be in this field of education. Now also a lot of teachers started talking. Earlier teaching profession was very good. We have to only go teach and come back. We never bother how many pass or fail. Now we are bothered not about passing and failing. We are bothered about how many become entrepreneurs. That's very important. How many get employment on campus? How many become entrepreneurs? How many publish papers as students? How many have got projects as students? How many have incubated companies? This is a new question, which was never before a teacher 5 years back. So teachers have become mentors for incubating companies. So this is how the teachers have to redesign their thinking pattern.
Thank you, sir. And there's a question from Dr. Jayashree Indran. How much the top management of the institutions is ready in providing the infrastructure needed, and how much they expect the faculty to invest?
So this is a relative question. I definitely understand this teacher would be from a private management college. So there is no question like this when it comes to government college. Who's going to invest and whether the teachers will invest? Teachers will never invest. In government colleges, they take salary and go. They don't invest anything, and government might invest. So here the question is whether the management invest or the teacher is going to invest. If it is needed, the investment has to come. That is something very important. And again, when it is coming to the question of investment, see, 10 years back or even 2 years back, we never thought of a campus audit on energy audit, eco audit, green audit. We never thought of 2 years back. Now every management is spending for auditing the campus. It is a need of the hour. Same way, if the government says there should be an independent infrastructure in every institution for e-content development, then the management has to spend. Government colleges, government will spend. Management colleges, management have to spend. So a lot of things we have seen like this. And certain institutions of high quality, government also will fund, even for private colleges. So a lot of private colleges we have seen Center of Excellence, and they have given SERB, they have given star status. A lot of we have got star status. Depending upon the merit of the institution, if the infrastructure is an immediate necessity, there will be funding from the government, or the management or government has to fund. Definitely, like I said, the green audit. So for one audit, in the context of Tamil Nadu, one audit is 25,000 rupees. You have to have green audit, energy audit, eco audit, and environmental audit. 4 audits, 1 lakh rupees. So the management is ready to spend, because that have become a compulsory component or a value-adding component to NAC and NARF. So people will go for that. Same way, if there is a demand for an infrastructural development, management will spend. And depending upon the character of the management, they might ask the teachers also to contribute. So I may not be able to answer on that. And if there is a contribution sought by the management, I advocate the teachers also to share a small component because it is going to benefit the community at large.
Thank you, sir. And there's a question from Dr. Vijay Raghavan. When clusters of institutions prevails, is there any possibility to do research in two different genres?
It's a wonderful question. I was expecting a question on clusters. This is possible, or this should be possible. See, if my college, my bioscience department is, just imagine, not very good. Another college in the cluster, they have got a wonderful biotechnology laboratory. There can be a guide and a guide in law. Possibilities are there. You can register in my college and you can continue doing your research for 6 months in that place for certain experiments that your guide decides. It's possibility. There can be two universities together giving a PhD degree. There can be even dual PhD degree coming up. Possibilities. It is depending upon the quantum of work that you carry out in the stipulated time, the number of research papers that you publish, and the number of, or the kind of product or process you are going to bring as an outcome of your research. That will finally certify that how your degree should be awarded. There are possibility of two institutions jointly giving degrees, or a scholar can pursue his PhD on, from two different institutions officially as well. There are possibilities. These are all hypothetical.
Thank you, sir. And there's a question from Shamina, Dr. Shamina, like how higher education policy 2021 makes more effective and efficient, apart with all these types of learning strategies like MOOC, inclusive education, hybrid and blended system of learning. How higher education policy 2021 makes more effective apart from all these systems like MOOC, inclusive education, hybrid and blended system of learning.
Thank you, Shamina, for this question. See, this is a very, very strong question. As I've told you, the new education policy, like NARF, it's on a test ground. See, NARF, you look at 2016 to now, there are a lot of changes. You would look at NAC, lot of changes. Same way, we have not come to a crystal clear picture as to how we have to run it forward. We keep on changing it, modifying it, which is being made more relevant to the education system. Same way, new education policy is envisaging a lot of things hypothetically. It is not easy for a country like India to, that is why they say by 2035, the gross enrollment rate for PGs will be 50%. 2025, 35, look at the time span. We cannot say in 5 years the gross enrollment ratio will increase to 50%. Not possible, because this is on a testing ground. So these are all hypothetical. Like when you do a research, you make a synopsis. This is a synopsis. You take 3 years to come to conclusions on your synopsis. And there is a hypothesis in the synopsis itself that as per the synopsis, the thesis will change. As per the material collected, the thesis will change. And as per the collection of the materials, the synopsis will change. Same way, we keep on adding to the synopsis or deleting the synopsis. It would take minimum 10 years for us to have a clear picture about the new education policy. Definitely this inclusive education or hybridization, all these models are very good, because all these are time-tested models of the Western education. That's why India took about 3 years to come and draft this. They have taken a lot of inputs from different parts of the world. So in draft, it is very good, but to materialize all these things, this would take a decade's time minimum. That's why government very clearly says, again, not as educators, government can keep on changing every 5 years. Government will change, BJP will change, Congress or anything, government can change. So policies also can be changed. So hence, I'm very positive on this, that lot of changes will happen on higher education because of new education policy. How we are going to embrace as teachers and students, that is going to make a lot of difference. Definitely, there will be a lot of discussion across the country about the priorities to be brought in, because this has to come from school education to higher education. A very long bandwidth is there. Hence, it will take time, but the future is going to be very bright of the new education policy. I'm very hopeful on that. Thank you, Shamina, for that.
Thank you, sir. There's a question from Dr. Rekha, ma'am. How much time does it take for a student to adjust to this system?
See, that is a wonderful question. For students, it is never a problem. See, you are teaching BCom this year on a syllabus, and next year new student is coming. You change the whole syllabus also for him, there is no problem, because students will be very easily able to adopt. Adaptability is very good with the student. You are sending your son or daughter to US for a higher education. Sometimes without knowing what is the pedagogy, what is the syllabus, the style of teaching, the style of living, kind of food, they'll go there, they adopt. Easily they get adopted. So any changes, now we are telling for computer science students, you are telling quantum computing is there, IoT is there, blockchain management is there, this, that. So for the student, last year it was Java, next year it will be something else. So that way, adaptability of any kind of system, online to offline or any mode, students will easily adopt, especially the students in the school and up to degree level, they'll be very easily adopting it. That part we need not have to be bothered about. What we need to be bothered about, how fast the teachers are going to adopt. Because we have a linear kind of thinking. There should be a non-linear thinking that way.
Thank you, sir. And there's another question from Dr. Sharanya, ma'am. What's the difference between flipped learning and hybrid learning? Is flipped learning a form of blended learning, or is it a pedagogical approach stand by itself?
Yeah, it's a pedagogical approach, and it's a part of blended learning also. So flipping is you flip your class. See, the example already I've told is a flipping the class. There are 50 students in the class. You divide them into different groups, assign them different tasks. They'll come back and tell you what has happened. That is flipping. And again, you can flip your class real time, or you can flip your class, give them an assignment, homework. There are 50 students in the class. I am dividing you into 10 groups of 5 each. You have to do some discussion and you have to come out. What are the social problems in your village? That's one topic. Another topic, how the Indian football team can train themselves and aim for a World Cup after 20 years. So I say a lot of things you can give them. And they'll go do Googling, meet people, get some information, assimilate that, validate that, and come and present before you. See, all this type of learning models is a learning model, not a teaching model. That's why I've told it has come from teacher-centric approach to student-centric approach, or teaching what is taught is not important, what is learned is important. It's all learning approaches. So that is what is called as, you have 50, all are included, all are becoming very enthusiastic about the subject. You include everybody and you become a mentor or you become a guide. So all these novel methods of teaching or pedagogical methods or tools are involving students more into the activity than the teacher.
Thank you, sir. And there's a question from Mr. Priyadarshan. How consortium learning program helps the students in developing their skills?
See, this consortium learning, this also, see, one thing I would like to tell all of you is, whatever I have talked here or whatever I have implemented in our college, I have learned it first. I have trained myself, then I've done it. So when I talk about this consortium of colleges, we have MOU with a college in Mumbai, Don Bosco College, and many colleges like that. We have sent a set of students from Commerce Department with 2 teachers to Mumbai. They stayed there for 2 weeks, learned one course and came back. And after 2 months, we invited a set of students from Mumbai, their college, Don Bosco College, and they have come back to our college, stayed here with us, learn. So this is not only learning of the syllabus of the subject, this is learning of the culture. Children in Mumbai come and tell us our campus is very sprawling, greenery, and Mumbai campus is within the city, very small buildings, morning one session, afternoon another session, no place to move, no ground for playing, and our campus that way. So that's a different exposure. Our children from the village go to Mumbai, stay there for 2 weeks, they go to Mumbai, explore Mumbai. So that is a cultural exchange, an emotional exchange, a better bandwidth in terms of fellowship, friendship. So that is a secondary level of higher education. So they know some students from the rural side have never gone to Mumbai. They'll see Mumbai. They think, okay, I can think of getting a job in Mumbai. Same way, students from Mumbai will feel, okay, I can study something in this college. The place is very peaceful. And we'll be talking about our department, our college. And from when we go there, this we have done with many colleges. Khalsa College, Mumbai, Don Bosco, Mumbai, IIT Mumbai, and many colleges in the south, down south as well. So this is how that will support the students in learning in a very effective way. And we have told them to have students group, WhatsApp group. They can tell what is happening in their college. Some festivals that we have. See, our children in the campus, they celebrate Holi. And look at the children in Bombay or Delhi celebrate Holi. So that though, lot of difference. And when we invite them here for Pongal or any of our festivals, that will be different. So learning is not what is learned through a syllabus. Learning is something much beyond that. So that way, the consortium will support every student and teacher to learn better things on a wider canvas.
Thank you, sir. There's a question from Dr. Ramaprabha. Is it possible to have domestic MOU for academic and research institutions in India?
What do you mean by domestic MOU?
It's a question from Dr. Ramaprabha Radhakrishnan.
So if you mean to say domestic MOU, the MOU between institutions in the same city or same state or same country, because when we talk about domestic travel, we travel anywhere, we travel in India, it is a domestic travel. So anyway, see, it is not that you make an MOU domestic or international. The MOU should be valid for two reasons. One, with whom you are signing the MOU and what are the outcomes envisaged. One. And second is how we are able to bring in students into the frame. So any activity that you do as a part of research, as a part of anything, the end users are the students. Anything, see all these programs, why we do this EDP. It's every day when we talk about all this education or pedagogy, new education policy, anywhere of XYZ. Why? To make the institution better and to make the student better learners, better equipped for tomorrow. So in that context, you signing MOU, there is no rule on that. You can sign MOU with any institution which is doing better than us. Any institution for that matter. You are signing MOU with a better institution, or you can sign MOU with institutions which are not at all good to your level in terms of many comparisons. You can sign MOU with them as well, telling that there's a hand-holding program. We are trying to bring that institution to next level. For example, an institution who is not having NAAC accreditation and you are an A-grade college, you can mentor that institution. This scheme is brought in by NAAC itself, mentor-mentee institution. NAAC is giving any A+ grade institution this mentee scholarship, and they are giving 10 lakh rupees for each college. So same way you can, this is what we call in the group learning. A top learner will teach the slow learner or an average learner. It's all possible. Make the MOU a happening MOU, that's it.
Thank you, sir. And the last question on board is, 1 minute, sir. There was a question. 1 minute, sir. Okay, there is a question from Dr. Mary, ma'am. I have one doubt, like some villages, there is no network and digital, they are digitally illiterate. Do you think this MOOCs will help them?
definitely. See, it is not that certain places you do not have connectivity. See, when you come to the college, for example, when we have conducted the examination during the pandemic online, certain children told they do not have connectivity or they have climatic problems. We have provided them hostel and our lab facility. So if some students are deprived of, see, a MOOC of 2 credit or 4 credit that may go for a month or 2 months, that is the span in which they have designed the course. You can do that course in 10 hours or 8 hours. So if they are ready to come to the college for a Saturday and Sunday, 2 Saturdays and Sundays, they can come to the college and use the lab. They'll get about 12 hours time. They can easily complete the MOOC. It is not necessary. It's a wonderful question. How are we going to help them? So we have to have some schemes for such children that the students who do not have this, the connectivity or electricity, they can use the college during Saturdays and the weekends, during some holidays, during summer holiday. See, when you complete your degree program in 3 years' time, you should complete 2 MOOCs. So in that you have summer holidays, winter holidays, XYZ holidays. Take 2 or 3 days of the holiday. We'll provide some internal facilities. Let us help them, and that can become a healthy practice or a good practice. You can claim it in NARF or NAC. So that is something very good. Nice question anyway. So, a very thoughtful question.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the answers for all the questions have reached the concerned person, and they have reported it by thanking and commenting a positive comment in the chat box. So thank you all, dear participants, for posting valuable questions. Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful deliberation made. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
The world needs strong women, women who will lift and build others, who will love and be loved, women who will live bravely, both tender and fierce, women of indomitable will. One such indominating woman is Dr. S. Jayapriya. We invite you, madam, to propose the vote of thanks. Welcome, ma'am.
Ma'am, somebody has unmuted, I
Yeah,
think.
I am about to announce, ma'am. Please mute your mic, and we request all the participants to switch on your cameras during the vote of thanks session. Please switch on your cameras. It's over to Dr. Jayapriya, ma'am. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm honored and lucky to have the opportunity to give a vote of thanks on this 5th day of EDP, New Trends in Higher Education and Emergence of Smart Teachers. First of all, I would like to express my deep gratitude to our Chairman and Managing Trustee, Dr. P. Krishnadas, and CEO and Secretary, Dr. P. Krishna Kumar, for their enormous support in organizing the event. Thank you, sirs. I would like to give my hearty vote of thanks to our speaker, Dr. B. Anirudhan, Principal, Nehru Arts and Science College, for gracing today's webinar. Thank you, sir, for your very thought-provoking and interesting address on hybrid education, the future. Undoubtedly, we got the best teacher as a leader leading us. Thank you so much for making us capable, imaginative, and creative with great ideas of hybrid education. Thank you, sir. I would like to express my deep gratitude to Dr. G. Maithili Nyanapriya, Controller of Examinations, Nehru Arts and Science College, for presiding over the session. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence, madam. I would like to thank our beloved Dr. Tanuja Thomas, Head Social Work, for her enthusiastic welcome address. Thank you, ma'am. Further, a big thank you to the Masters of Ceremony, Dr. Malti, for her efforts towards anchoring of today. Thank you, ma'am. A special thanks to the organizing committee for their unflinching support and coordination. My heartfelt thanks to all the participants for their presence and participation. I thank you for being with us this time. It has been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
I think the feedback link is not there, ma.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for wrapping the session with wonderful vote of thanks. Thanks a lot. Feedback's link will be shared in the WhatsApp group and chat box also. Participants, you're most welcome to fill the feedback in another 1 hour. We'll be sharing the link in the WhatsApp group immediately now. And we request only the faculty members of Nehru Arts and Science College to stay back. We kindly request all the participants the feedback link is posted. I think some of you have asked for the feedback link. It is posted in the chat box of the same window. You can take it. Otherwise, we'll be posting it in the WhatsApp group also. Once you're filling the feedback, we request the participants to kindly leave the platform. Faculty members of our college are requested to stay back. And tomorrow we'll be meeting sharp by 4:50 for the valedictory session and the final technical session of the 6 days EDP jointly organized by Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Center for Capacity Building, and Carbros. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you for sharing your valuable time and valuable questions. Thank you so much for being with us today. And thanks to all the participants for your wonderful observation and wonderful comments that is posted in the chat box. Thank you so much. Now the feedback link is posted in the WhatsApp group also. We thank all the participants for being with us today. We request the external participants to kindly leave the platform. And we request all the members of staff of Nehru Arts and Science College to stay back.
See, are you sure only our faculty are there?
No, sir. Others are also there. Others are also there,
Yeah,
sir.
fine. All right.
Dr. Manoj, kindly check whether participant from other colleges have left, because I have
Yes,
checked
ma'am.
no one.
Yes, ma'am. I'm checking, ma'am, but I'm not sure with the names with 18 dot Sai Yadav.
That and all may be from our side only, sir. Maximum of them have left. I think Viniti Gupta ma'am's is there. Zoe was something.
So 18 and 12, it is representing, no? 18 and 12. Two of them are there, I think.
Yes, ma'am. 12 dot Hari Prasad A, 18 dot Sai Yadav.
It's better we request all the faculty members to switch on your camera right now. So all the members of staff of Nehru Arts and Science
See,
College, we
you
request.
see others, Dr. Malti, others who have not left, you can disconnect them, no?
Sir, that's
that
what
can
I'm
be
doing.
done.
Yes, sir, I'm doing, sir. The names which are
Sayadav is Dr. A. Anita from Biotech, sir.
okay.
Yeah, so that is the problem, sir. Sometimes we don't know the name. Like they have joined from other IDs, sir. That's the problem.
So 12 dot Hari Prasad.
Yeah.
Sir, Arividakan.
Yeah,
okay.
fine. Okay.
So once again, check the list, those who are present. Dr. G. Shanti.
If the faculties are switching on their camera, the concerned heads can check it. We request the faculty members to kindly switch on your camera just for 5 minutes. Once we check it, then you can switch it off.
Dr. G. Shanti ma'am is from Commerce Department.
No, sir, I'm Ashanti.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Just to remove from the list, I have confirmed, ma'am.
So identification parade is happening. Because many of the new teachers, we do not know, they come with mask, no, we don't know,
No,
neither by name nor by face. Okay, I think now if somebody
So-
else is listening, also let them listen, no issues on that.
Saurabh Sunil.
Geeta, what is sir?
Oh, Tamil
Tamil
Department.
department Geeta.
Geeta, Dr. Geeta.
Okay.
I think almost all have left. Dr. Manoj, almost all have left.
Zoe,
Yeah.
Now-
Zoe Siva. Zoe Jiva. So I think we can continue with the meeting and hope they will not
That's
understand
what
the context. I think so.
No, otherwise, see, even if they understand, we are not talking any secret about bombing America. Okay. So what is the total count now?
So 130.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Okay. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening to the session. This is